Something weird kept happening in my coaching calls. I'd be talking to people who looked successful on paper, good revenue, growing teams, strong brands, but they all felt, trapped. I decided to dig deeper. I surveyed 99 smart and ambitious people in my community and asked them one simple question. What's the one thing quietly holding you back right now? The answers all pointed to the same 10 core problems that keep ambitious people stuck. Here's what surprised me most. The number one problem isn't about money, growth, or trusting people. It's something deeper that affects every ambitious person I know. Even if you think you've got it all figured out, don't worry. I used to think the same thing. Let me show you what I discovered. I'm Matt Gray, and I used to be trapped in my own successful business. Great revenue on paper, but zero freedom in real life. After years of building systems to solve my own problems, I realized other founders were stuck in the same cycle. I've developed frameworks that help founders create businesses that actually give them their life back. That's what this is about. Systems that work so you don't have to work all the time. But first, let me show you these 10 problems, because even if just 2 of these hit home, it's probably time to rebuild your approach entirely. Problem number 1, I'm stuck in the weeds. One founder I worked with was clearing $70,000 a month, but couldn't take a vacation. Sound familiar? This is the broadest pain point. It hits every founder, regardless of business model. You've built something that looks successful on paper, but you're trapped inside it. Here's what I learned after building my first company, BitMaker. Revenue isn't freedom. I was making millions, but I felt like I was in prison. I was the bottleneck to everything. The solution, I created what I call the AED sheet. Automate, eliminate, delegate. List every activity you do in a week. Mark if it gives you energy or it drains it. Then mark if it can be delegated. Most founders discover they're doing $10 an hour work instead of $2,000 an hour high leverage tasks. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Even after you delegate, you might still feel stuck, which brings us to problem number 2. Problem number 2, I hired ops, but I'm still stuck. This one surprised me. I surveyed smart, ambitious people who already had operations managers, assistants, even full teams, and they were still drowning. Here's why. Hiring people doesn't fix broken systems. It just creates expensive chaos. I made this mistake with my cannabis company, Herb. I hired 15 people thinking it would free me up. Instead, I became the manager of 15 people's problems. My revenue went up, but my freedom went down. The real issue wasn't the people, it was the process. You can't delegate what you can't systemize, and you can't systemize what you don't understand. That's when I discovered something that changed everything. The difference between delegation and true systems thinking. One scales you, the other scales your problems. But even with perfect systems, if your core offer is broken, you're building on quicksand. Problem number 3, I don't know how to price my high ticket offer. This one hits different because it's about confidence, not just about strategy. I was on a call last week with a coach doing $40,000 per month. His coaching was incredible, but he was charging $2,000 when his competitors charged $10,000. Why? Fear of scaring away clients. Here's the truth. Underpricing doesn't protect you from rejection. It attracts the wrong clients and repels the right ones. I've seen so many offers out there, and truth be told, I think the most beautiful offers are the ones that are simple, they're repeatable, and they're scalable. Where I see a lot of founders screw up is they just keep adding more things. And I've even done this years ago myself, but there was a point in time with Herb that any given offer we had, it was all just customized. And with any single person we worked with, we would adapt to whatever they wanted from us. While this seemed good on sort of a customer success level, on a business level, it just created an insane amount of complexity. We told ourselves after that we would only create offers that were simple, repeatable, and scalable, which allowed us to specialize, to get really good, to put in reps and become the best at that one narrow thing. Oftentimes when you're creating an offer that's really scalable, it's weird, right? Because you end up making it so uncomfortably narrow and specific, right? Because you're like, damn, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're not going to do that. It's like, no. Just focus on this one specific thing. Just do that, but be the best in the world at it. And that's where the magic happens. But it's also really, really tough. When I raised my mastermind from 25K to 68K, something amazing happened. I didn't lose clients, I gained better ones. The entrepreneurs who invested at 68K were more committed, got better results, and became my biggest advocates. The psychology is simple. Price creates the perception of value, but more importantly, higher prices give you the margins to over-deliver. Here's a simple pricing experiment to run. Take your current price, double it, then add 20%. That's your new price. If that terrifies you, you're probably on the right track. Try selling it at that price and just see what happens. If your close rate is still above 25%, you can stick with it and scale stronger. But pricing is just the surface. If your offer itself isn't converting, you got bigger problems. Problem number 4, my offer isn't converting and I don't know why. I see this pattern everywhere. Founders create offers based on what they think people want, not what people actually buy. People don't buy solutions to problems that they can solve themselves. They buy solutions to problems they can't solve themselves. The difference, implementation and accountability. Your offer shouldn't just teach. It should do. It shouldn't just inform, it should transform. I restructured my entire business around this principle. Instead of selling courses, I started selling outcomes. Instead of just teaching systems, I started installing them. In my case, that shifted my close rate from 15% to 30%. Here's where it gets tricky. Once your offer starts converting, your instinct is oftentimes to scale even faster. That's where most founders make their biggest mistake. Problem number 5, how do I scale without hiring a big team? Every founder asks this. They see other businesses with 50-person teams and they think that's what scale looks like, but it's not. I know founders doing $3 million a year with 4-person teams. I know others doing $500K with 20-person teams. The difference? Systems thinking versus people thinking. Never hire a person to solve a problem that systems can solve. Never. Before you hire your next employee, ask yourself, can I systemize this instead? Most of the time, the answer is yes. I think the most important hire that I ever make in any of my businesses is my chief of staff. And they block and tackle anything that could go and disrupt my time. I build businesses, and because I really want to, when I'm building, my goal is really to reach my highest creative potential. And I can only be my best self if I'm not getting distracted all the time. You know, the worst feeling is like all day when you're just task switching and then someone's hitting you up and then distracting you over here. And suddenly, you end the day and you wonder, did I even get anything done? My chief of staff owns my calendar and owns all internal communication, thereby allowing me to be focused on the external side of things, right? I'm able to go and kind of be our creative director, our chief detail officer, going and helping us build this almost this Pixar for founders, focusing on crazy ideas, building this amazing movement, helping us create content that inspires over 81 million people a month these days. The biggest thing that I can do in any business is to set the organic audience on fire. Anything else, I like to either delegate, eliminate, or automate. And the beautiful thing is that when I have a chief of staff in place there, they're able to go sift things into those buckets without me, so that the only things that get to me are things that actually will go and not just be a 1x or 2x for the company, but be 10x, 20x, 100x opportunities that are actually worthy of my time and of my mental bandwidth. This is why I can run multiple 8-figure businesses without being trapped in operations. But there's one thing that trips up even the most systemized founders. Problem number 6, I have content, but no sales system. This one's painful because these founders are doing everything right on the surface. They're posting daily, they're getting engagement, building an audience, but their content isn't making money. Here's the brutal truth. Content without a sales system is honestly just expensive marketing. I learned this building my personal brand at 2.8 million followers. For the first 3 months, I had massive reach, but tiny revenue. Then I discovered the content to profit system. Every piece of content I create now serves 3 purposes. 1, it builds authority. 2, nurtures prospects. 3, drives sales. The key is the bridge between content and commerce. But here's where most founders go wrong when they try to scale that connection. Problem number 7, I think ads will save me. Plot twist, they don't. I've seen founders spend millions on ads across multiple businesses. Here's what I've learned studying their businesses. Ads amplify what's already working. They don't fix what's broken. If your organic content isn't converting, your ads won't either. If your offer isn't selling at small scale, throwing money at it won't help. Organic is better than paid for most founders. Why? Because organic forces you to create real value. Paid media lets you hide behind targeting and creative. Listen, I'm not against paid ads, right? I'm not really against anything. I think one mindset I have is I'm basically infinitely flexible. I just know that based on my own experience, organic content systems have literally changed the trajectory of my life. I've built massive assets around my personal brand of 2.8 million people, millions and millions of emails, and all of this creates this compounding, appreciating asset that I control. And I don't need to keep putting money into the slot machine to go and produce leads. I can just produce them on command because I own my audience. The most successful founders I see, they've built organic audiences. When you build an audience organically, you're building relationships. When you just buy traffic, you're renting attention. I've been fortunate to build Founder OS and my other portfolio companies to significant scale without ads. Results that took years and aren't typical, but it happened. Not because I'm against ads, but because I wanted to prove that systems worked organically without adding paid traffic. Organic first, paid second, always. But even with perfect systems, most founders still struggle with one thing. Problem number 8, hiring stresses me out. I get it. Bad hires can kill your business, your culture, and your sanity. But here's what most founders don't realize. Hiring anxiety usually means you don't have clear systems for what success looks like. You know, there was a moment running Herb, right? Where it's like 2016, cannabis industry was going bonkers. Herb had recently received two $50 million offers. I had said no to those because I could see a clear path to the company hitting 500 mil, even a bill. And so I bet big. I put my chips in. I went and hired another 15 people because it looked like demand was just going to soar. Canadian legalization, and it seemed like at any point the US might legalize as well, which would just cause the industry to 10x. But something weird happened. Canadian legalization happened. The US got a little softer though. Everything started to slowly crumble, which was shocking to everyone in the industry. And suddenly, almost in a month, demand started drying up. And so here I was, a big, bloated company with 15 people too many. I had to roll in there one Monday morning. I had to terminate 15 people back to back. And I told myself that for the rest of my life, I would view hiring a lot different. I would be way more conservative. My friend Oren Hoffman once said to me, we view hiring as a failure. It's a failure to automate that role. And I remember hearing that, thinking that is bold. When at the end of the day, if you just took a step back, there's probably a couple simple moves you could make, and yeah, maybe a bit of rolling up your sleeves, but that would create an automated, systemized way of doing something versus having more complexity. You know, we don't want to just scale up people. We're trying to scale freedom. When I hire now, I'm not hiring people, I'm hiring systems operators. Before I post any job, I create 3 things. 1, the exact system they'll operate. 2, the specific outcomes they're responsible for. And 3, the metrics that define success. This changes everything. Instead of hoping they'll figure it out, I'm training them to execute a proven system. The fear goes away when the guesswork does. But even with great hires, there's one problem that can sabotage everything. Problem number 9, wrong clients keep showing up. You've built a strong brand, you're getting inquiries, but they're all wrong. Low budget clients, tire kickers, people who don't value what you do. This used to drive me crazy. Then I realized it's not a marketing problem, it's a messaging problem. Your content is attracting exactly who it's designed to attract. If the wrong people are showing up, you're sending the wrong signals. The solution? What I call magnetic messaging. So when it comes to magnetic messaging, I think one of the most powerful things you can do is think about the core psychological barriers that your market gets stuck with, and then coming up with your own languaging on how you'd go and help them overcome that. So an example here is if I find that customers in Founder OS are constantly getting stuck with procrastination, I may have a phrase that is, do it messy, which encourages people just to get going. Even if you're just at 50%, just take that next step. Another example is people maybe going and getting hung up with imposter syndrome. I may have a phrase that, done is better than perfect. And so what I'm doing is I'm inserting these unique magnetic messages into core blockages that my core customer has. When they go and throughout their day, they run into these different blockers, say 10, 20 times a day, it's not just anything that's on their mind. It's hopefully I've inserted these little phrases like do it dirty, do it messy, progress over perfectionism, done is better than perfect. These little things that just can inch my audience a little bit further towards their goal, maybe even to working with me, but all along the way, having my messaging inside of their subconscious. Instead of trying to appeal to everyone, repel the wrong people on purpose. Be polarizing, take stands, make it clear who you're for and who you're not for. When I started saying FounderOS isn't for everyone, my inquiries dropped by 50%, but my close rate doubled. Which brings us to the final problem, the one that surprised me most. Problem number 10, my business falls apart when I travel. This is the real test of entrepreneurial freedom. Can you disappear for 2 weeks and come back to a business that's better than when you left? Most founders can't. They're not business owners. They're highly paid employees of their own companies. We've all been there, right? A founder that's looking to take a trip, but just finds themselves constantly just being pulled back into the business. Back in 2015, I was road tripping through New Zealand over 2 months while building my second business. While I had more freedom in this business, there were still those times where a crisis would come up. There I'd have to pull over on the side of the road, go and hotspot my computer to my phone to deal with some insane fire that was happening all the way on the other side of the world. Fires can be expected in any business, right? But when you find that that's day after day, sometimes even hour after hour, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and wonder what the hell is going on, because that's no way to live. And as you probably can tell, I've experienced this years ago. And by putting the right systems in place, you can get rid of that feeling, because I think that the number one feeling that we're all really after is peace. The feeling that the business is actually stronger without you. It has this ability, whether you run it for the next 20 years, you'll be successful, or if at some point you wanted to sell it, it's systemized and sellable. I think beyond peace, the other thing that we want as founders is optionality. You want to have that option that, if you want to go on a vacation, you're good. You want to have that option that if you want to take that spontaneous weekend away, you're good. You want to have that option if one day you wake up and you want to sell the business, you're good. That level of just being good no matter what, being anti-fragile as a business, really all comes down to the systems being in place. Systems work no matter the weather, your feelings, or what bullshit's going on, because systems just run. Building real systems means designing yourself out of the equation. It means creating something that runs without you, grows without you, succeeds without you. That's not just business freedom, that's life freedom. Here's what I discovered after analyzing all 99 responses. Every single problem traces back to one thing. Most smart, ambitious founders are building businesses that need them to succeed. But the goal isn't to build a business that needs you. It's to build a business that frees you. The difference is systems thinking. This is what I call the founder freedom formula. Systems plus team plus offers equals autonomy. The goal isn't just making money, it's creating choices. Choices about what you work on, when you work, where you work, and who you work with. These problems are fixable, but not with hacks. You need systems. Systems that work whether you're in the office or on a beach in Thailand. That's what I teach inside of FounderOS. The frameworks I've developed through building my portfolio of successful online businesses. Results that took years to achieve and won't be the same for everyone, but the systems tend to be universal. If you're ready to stop being stuck and want to see if these systems could work for your situation, click the link below in the description to apply to FounderOS. I made a one-pager that walks through the exact systems I use to solve these 10 problems. It's called the Unstuck Playbook, and you can download it below in the description. This isn't theory, this isn't motivation, this is the actual playbook I use with founders doing 30K to 500K per month who want to scale without losing their sanity. If you see yourself in these problems, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not going to be stuck forever. Like this video if it opened your eyes to something new. Subscribe if you want more systems that actually work, and download the playbook if you're ready to stop being a prisoner in your own business. Welcome to the Founder Freedom Movement. This is my life's work. I'd love to see you on the inside. Let's continue to win together.